Hello, 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 beautiful souls, and a very happy winter solstice to you. I hope that you are enjoying this beautiful day where we welcome back so much more light and we start to settle in to our bodies, into our homes, into our sacred spaces, to really, really embrace the light and the love that is offered for us. So I wanted to do a pre-recorded video because it's a little bit easier to bring forth the information, the love, the light, and all of the gifts and the blessings through a pre-recorded video in my own kind of little abode here. And I would love to know what you have been up to and what your plans are for the winter solstice. Later this evening, I've been invited to do some Yuletide caroling, which I'm going to do that. And I had spent the majority of the day actually working in and around my altar in different areas of my home, just kind of setting up places with candles and stones and intentions, because it's such a powerful day for intentions. So what exactly is the winter solstice, and why is it so very important for us? Because what we have learned is all of these specific stops, I guess you will, around the wheel of the year is so important to acknowledge and honor, because it brings with it a huge amount of healing and growth and information, and an absolutely beautiful, beautiful way to connect with the energies of the earth, of the air, of the water, and of fire. So we call these the Sabbats, or the major Sabbats. There's minor Sabbats and major Sabbats. Just like in the tarot, there's minor arcana and major arcana. And so why those things are so important is because it's a way of bringing back the old religion, right? The old way of getting back to our roots, remembering why we're here, and working with our ancestors as well. When we work with our ancestors, we are healing all of the information and the knowledge that has been lost, that has been buried, that has been suppressed. So for me, this is such an incredibly special time of the year because, and especially this year, because I recently turned the big 5-0, and it was quite a remarkable opportunity for me to really look at my life from the 50 years before and then 50 years going forward. And having it so close to the winter solstice is an even more special time for me. So when we look at the winter solstice, we know it's the longest night of the year, which means it's the darkest night of the, it's the darkest because the night is dark. So it's the longest night of the year. And then we slowly begin to get more sun. The sun comes back, the light comes back. And what's beautiful about that is we find the balance between the light and the dark. It certainly seems that this year there has been a real focus on a lot of the dark, the shadow, the aspects of us that needed to come to the surface to rise above and be healed and be acknowledged and be recognized for those parts of us that make us whole. So this has been an incredible year for transformation, for healing, for growth, and just like ascension progression, like progressing into our ascension, into our evolution. And so now we come into that time where we start to embody the energies of the winter solstice, as above, so below. earlier today, I was watching On and Off. We had live streaming with Stonehenge. If you get a chance to look at it, it's really wonderful because you can you're there and you're seeing the sun actually going down, because when the sun was rising, it was cloudy, so you couldn't see the sun rise, but you could see the sun going down. But just the background of the sky with Stonehenge, the stones in front, it was such a spectacular sight. And there's some nice music in the background that plays, and so it just it was playing in the background, the music, as well as the sight of Stonehenge for the solstice, and it was just really, really special. So if you get a chance to look at that, you might want to check that out. So what else does this time represent? Well, for most of us, even though there is this hecticness and this hurriedness of the holiday season, it's actually a time where we start to find more peace. We almost crave that silence, that darkness. As you can see, there's darkness, in back of me, and there's the light in front of me. There's a big light over here. And so there's that contrast between the dark and the light. And that contrast also means black and white. And so we're always swimming and working in the gray, but we're also very aware of black and white. And again, with these new energies for the solstice, we're finding that there really is no black and white. There is no dark and light. They simply just are energies that are operating at the same time, and it's our perception of how we see it and what we do with that information when we get it. So what are some rituals that you can do for the winter solstice? Well, as with every single cosmic event, which I'm going to talk about this particular cosmic event in a moment too, because it's very important with Saturn and Jupiter's conjunction that happened this morning, peaked around 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning, where Jupiter and Saturn were directly in alignment. And that hasn't happened in like 600 to 800 years. So that's pretty significant. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment, because I did receive a really beautiful message around that. So, but what are some rituals that we can do? Well, we can always, the easiest thing that we can do is write down those things that no longer are, maybe say, a part of our lives, especially this last year, like where there might have been a lot of loss, there might have been a lot of expectations that never really came to pass. There might have been things that, trips you wanted to take, people you wanted to see, things you wanted to do, and it just didn't happen the way that you wanted it to. And so in some ways, those are losses, and we certainly have been mourning those losses for quite some time. But at the same time, while we're mourning those losses, we've received incredible gains. And it's a great opportunity for you to see for yourself, what did you gain? Because in those gains is growth, right? And in that growth is knowledge and wisdom that perhaps you never ever experienced before. But this time of being with yourself and being, in your own spaces so much more than any other year, then that would be a time where you could simply say, what did I learn so much about myself? What was my biggest takeaway of this year? And so when you write those things down, you can always thank each one, or you can just have a couple of them and then burn it. And when you burn it, you ask that, the gods and the goddesses of the winter solstice, your healing helper team, the angels that you work with, you ask that they take these significant things in your life that you learned from, and that they're transmuted, that they're transformed, that they go up into the heavens, or that they go up into the clouds, and that you allow yourself and you open up to the next step of what that meant for you. But you do it from a place of honor, right? You do it from a place of recognizing that in that loss, in that cycle of life, there is another cycle coming. And so that's a beautiful ritual. And many people do it in a different ways. I actually have a cauldron, a really large cauldron, and that's what I like to do. Is I like to light my candle, write my paper, put it in my cauldron, and then just let it burn with the intention, as I'm watching the fire, with just such gratitude, and honoring that. I think we're so quick to just be like, oh, I got to get rid of that. Like, I don't want to remember, all these terrible things that happened this year. I don't want to remember about COVID. I don't want to remember about quarantining. I don't remember about, any of that sort of stuff. And so when we do that, we create this barrier between what was and what is. And so if we do it from a place of honor, we do it from a place of recognizing that too served, it was of service for me, then we allow those blessings to come in much more quicker. So, okay. So the other thing I want to talk about really quickly before I go into what I would consider a healing transmission is working on our boundaries. This is an incredible time to be working on our boundaries because self-care and self-love is so very important. When we have certain rituals in our life that establish a self-care or a self-love routine, then boundaries become not something that are an afterthought, but something that is happening all the time. So we have these holy boundaries. And I say holy boundaries because when we work on our boundaries, we're actually talking about our psychic boundaries as well, because there's a lot of energies that are always going, coming at us. And so when we have strong psychic boundaries, then that keeps the energy, the unwanted energies, from getting in, so to speak. That's a better term to say it. And that is something that, when I'm working with spiritual clients, when I'm working with psychic students, and when I'm even just speaking with family and friends, we talk about what are the ways and what do you do to give yourself good, healthy boundaries. And if that is something that you are interested in, I do have an email e-course that I can send you, and I can drop that link, down below. If you're interested in that, I'd be happy to give you that link, and then you could sign up for that. And it's a great way to walk you through how to work on those boundaries, especially during this time, and especially going into the winter, going into that womb space. So I'm going to take some water. And I actually am going to do a little bit of a healing transmission here. And what I mean, and I'm going to got my drum. I'm going to do a little bit of drumming. Warm her up a little bit. place your hand on your solar plexus in your belly area as you soothe and give thanks to that light that's within you. Feeling the earth below and the fire within you. It can be a little spark. And even in that, with that little spark within you, there is holiness. Allow that little spark to show you what you need. This comes from a place of nurturing, where this little spark represents your energy, the energy of the turning of the tides. The turning over the rains to the winter. What does the winter, the Yuletide, mean to you? Where is that spark going to serve you? It only needs to be a tiny little spark, like this little light of mine. And as you feel into that light, you notice it glows just a little bit brighter. The edges gold tinted. Knowing that that light within you is not only the God spark, but the Christ consciousness. This is where I'm going to open my eyes and I'm going to share with you a little bit about the message that I received and about the time of the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction. I'm going to give a little bit of the message, but then if you're interested, I may actually do it's a message. I'll give you a little bit of the message, but the actual channelings I may give access. I might put them in here somehow for you to access them or for me to read them or something like that, because the channelings are really pretty profound about this time and really beautiful as well. And so there's some really great messages there for us. So when we look at the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, we're really looking at the Bethlehem star. We're looking at the Christmas star. We're looking at the star that the three wise men followed. We're looking at the star of the Magi. It always fascinates me how we have so many different stories through the ages that all come down to the translation and what it means to you or I or the person reading it or listening to it. That's really what matters the most, is how does the star, the story of Jesus being born, or the story of the three wise men following, the star, how does that relate to you? How is that special and purposeful to you? And I just find that very fascinating, because that's where the twists and the turns and the windy roads and the revelations and the uncoverings, that's what the journey is all about, right? For us individually. So it is believed that because this has not happened in about 600 to 800 years, and this is considered the Bethlehem star, it is believed that somehow, and even though it is believed, I believe this too, this star, this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, is somehow connected to the Christ consciousness coming back onto the planet. Now, we have known for quite some time that the Christ consciousness has been very, very active, or very, if I'd say active, but awakened, right? We've been awakened with that Christ consciousness, especially through the heart, and just through the kindness of just everyday people, just doing kind things. But this is a little bit more than just an embodiment, just a physical sensation or a physical act of kindness. This is really turning on the dormant DNA codes, the dormant Christ-lighted, even Grail codes, if you will. I've been doing a lot with the Grail codes, and I think you're going to find some of that information over the next couple weeks and months coming in through Heart-Centered Living and through the work that I'm doing as well. But these things have been dormant, and there's such an awakening, a mass awakening going on the planet, that because of this awakening, it brings in it and brings with it the Christ consciousness onto the planet. So another way of looking at this is we are now channeling fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional, seventh dimensional energies onto the planet to be rooted here on the earth. And what that ultimately means is we are now in a position to anchor heaven on earth. And this is what myself as a sage, and many of us sages, and many of us teachers and light workers and way showers and spiritual teachers and just genuine good-hearted people who have known that there is a different world, a type of even utopia, if you will, that it does exist, that it existed at one time, maybe not on this planet, and that is the difference, because we are bringing in those memories, those experiences, those ways of being from another planet, from another place, from another dimension, from another timeline. But those memories within us are making it possible for us to recreate, reenact, if you will, even the ascension of the ascension energies, which we remember from back in the biblical times, which is not so much the crucifixion as much as the ascension. For we believe, many of us believe, that it wasn't so much that Christ suffered on the cross. Christ actually ended up ascending that pain and suffering through the drama and the acts of many of the acts and the drama of what was played through the Magdalene bloodline, the Egyptian Osiris and Isis reenactments, and so on and so forth. And I don't want to go into that too much, but there's a lot out there on that, and that's something I've been following for many years now, and there's a truth to that. So it depends on how you look at the crucifixion. But when we think of this beautiful, beautiful Bethlehem star, this beautiful Christmas star, we are talking about a mass consciousness of Christ-like energy coming onto the planet. And that's just really yummy. I mean, really, just really yummy and really beautiful. And to put to put it into a lack of a better word, a lack of a better way of looking at it, is that we're going home. We're going home into the womb and the soul of our heart, of our beingness, and we're not leaving the planet to do so. It's I'm being shown. I've been shown this a couple times. It's really quite beautiful. The clicking of the heels, right, with Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home. All you have to do is just click those beautiful little red heels, and the next thing you know, you're home. Well, we have been in our homes this past year for a long time, right? This is probably the most we have spent in our homes in years. And it's been beautiful for most people because it is creating a sense of safety, security, a type of remembering of what it's like to be, creating sacred spaces, be cooking food, be taking care of our kids and our husbands and our families as best as we can. And so this is a different kind of home, but we know what it feels like to be in our homes. So not only is this a type of homecoming with this event that's happening, but it's also going back to the womb space during this time of winter. So this is a really, really exciting, beautiful time. A lot of ascension energies, a lot of fifth dimensional light body activations going on. A lot of newness. And what I mean by newness is new colors, new words, new species, new flowers. So if you want to explore some of these things, if you want to look into them more and more, I'm going to encourage you to journal, to meditate, to write. Let me know what changes you have already noticed within yourself and on the planet. Let me know where I can support you on your journey. Let me know what you are looking forward to in 2021. But most importantly, let me know what you're going to do with these solstice energies today, tomorrow, the weeks to come. Because we are just really in for a just scrumptious time, magnificent time. And I don't know about you, but I'll buckle my seatbelt and I'll ride it out. But healing transmissions and ascension energies, this is what we've been waiting for. So do your best to stay focused on what's important, what you value the most, in spite of what might be going on all around you. You know in your heart what is good for you, what is right, and what is needed. Work on those sacred boundaries, because in turn, when you work on those sacred boundaries, you're working on your psychic boundaries. When you work on your psychic boundaries, unwanted energy does not touch you. So, all right. I send you blessings and love and peace and healing from this beautiful sacred space at the Heart Light Center to wherever you are. We join our hearts, our hands in prayer for a world of peace, for a world of equality, for a world of comfort, but not too comfortable. And sometimes just plain silliness. Allow ourselves to be in the moment as much as we possibly can. I love you and bless you. And happy Yuletide Winter Solstice.